with the verdict. Of course, ideally, I do feel that it's very clear and very obvious that he's a sexual predator, and that there's a clear pattern there. And I feel, obviously, that he should have been convicted on the top charges of the sexual predator charges. But nevertheless, I'm happy it went the way it went.
Yeah, because he was found not guilty of predatory sexual assault, which carries a much longer term in prison. I mean, I think he would have faced life in prison if he had been convicted of that. He was found guilty, though, of criminal sexual assault against you. Miriam, I cannot imagine what it has been like for you to go through this process in court, to have your emails picked apart, your diaries looked at, the dynamics of a relationship that you had with him, criticism of you, to hear his lawyer say prosecutors had created an alternative universe where women aren't responsible for the parties they attend, the men they flirt with, the choices they make to further their own careers, the hotel room invitations, the plane tickets they accept, the jobs they ask for help to obtain. This kind of implied criticism of the women who are attacked by a powerful man. What was that experience like? I know you broke down in court when you were questioned. What has the whole experience been like, and to try and resist that blame and shame put upon you?
Well, you know, I think the thing that's that I've had to focus on and that I've kept in mind is that I know what happened regardless of the circumstances around it. And I've just had to let go of any shame or self-blame that I may have had, and just stand strong in my truth. And yeah, obviously it wasn't easy. It was a really, really, really tough time, like throughout, not just with the testimony, but also leading up to it. It was very invasive and time-consuming and draining process. The trial date moved many, many times as well. So, you know, it went on for a while. And but yeah, all I could do is, you know, feel strength in the knowing that I knew what happened and truth was on my side. And so I showed up and shared it.
The sentencing takes place in a couple of weeks on March the 11th, I think, Miriam. Do you think he should get the full, well, I think it's up to 29 years that is on the cards?
Well, it's not up to me to decide the sentencing is up to the judge. So I've basically, you know, even with the verdict, I just couldn't take that on. I just detached myself from the outcome and focused just on showing up and speaking the truth and telling the jury what happened.
What impact has the experience that the sexual assault had on you, Miriam? And what impact has the trial had on you, seeing Harvey Weinstein, thinking that there was a possibility that he may not be convicted? How do you emerge from this?
Well, I mean, like I said, the whole process was terrifying, and of course, you know, for many, many years, I suppressed what happened. I moved on, and then when this all started resurfacing, I've kind of, and also once I decided to show up for the trial, I kind of had to start processing on a level that I hadn't before. And so it's been just very draining. But I think, you know, of course now I'm glad that I did decide to follow through with it. And I think it's been a healing process for myself, ultimately.
That's good to hear. So good to hear. And you've done a remarkable, extraordinary and incredibly brave thing. Gloria Allred, so few cases end in convictions. I mean, this is an incredible thing that these women did to go to trial and to go through this process.
Well, absolutely, Susanna. And I want to say that Mimi was very courageous throughout all of it. And, you know, she knew that she was going to have to make many, many sacrifices in the interest of justice, sacrifices of her privacy, you know, that they would attempt to humiliate her, to attempt to shame her, to blame her, and to run quite a few rape myths in their arguments. And that's exactly what they did. But the wonderful thing is that, you know, she knew, she stood solid in what she said was her truth. She was willing to take the oath, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help her God, or to affirm the oath. And she went through so many hours of an intensive, invasive questioning. But in the end, they found, by unanimous verdict, that Mr. Weinstein was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal sexual assault. They also found beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty of rape in the third degree of another victim, Jessica. But the main sentence that it will be imposed upon him in 2 weeks, unless that sentencing hearing is continued, will be because of the finding of guilty on the charge for Mimi, the criminal sexual assault, which is a very serious felony. So we'll see what happens, but whatever happens with Mr. Weinstein at the sentencing hearing, immediately after that, he will be transported to Los Angeles, where another criminal case will proceed against Mr. Weinstein. And one of the witnesses in the New York criminal case, the Molyneux witness, meaning a prior bad act witness, who also testified in the New York case, she will be one of the two victims in the Los Angeles case.
Right.
Bottom line is this: Mr. Weinstein, if he is convicted in LA as well, he is likely to be spending the rest of his life in prison. And that is because of the courage of Mimi and so many others who are willing to testify.
Mimi, it's been, I think, about 14 years since that first offence took place against you. How have you been able to rebuild your life?
Well, like I was saying earlier, you know, I suppressed it for a very long time. I moved on with my life because I felt at the time that I didn't really have a realistic choice, but to kind of suppress it and just move on. So that's what I did, and am quite successfully, to be honest with you. I was surprised at when it all resurfaced and the story first came out, and then it started kind of brewing and the memories started coming back. And I was almost surprised at how actually deeply it had affected me. So I'm grateful ultimately now that I've been through all of this and come out the other end, so to speak, that I did, you know, that it did, and that I actually processed all of that stuff that was just lying underneath for so long.